Are we live? Has it started? All right. This is a post 4th of July rant on 4th of July. Make American plantations great again for your owners, American people. Look at these happy Americans here in San Diego celebrating their freedom, their liberty in the greatest nation on the planet Earth, rotating at 1,040 miles per hour at the equator on a globe spinning through outer space, where you can still fly to Costa Rica in 6 hours in an airplane from Los Angeles. And despite the world rotating at 1,040 miles per hour, it hasn't freaking moved by the time you get there due to the rotation, which should put it about a quarter of the way in its rotation away, and you'd land in the ocean and be eaten quickly by sharks. That's after you've done what you've been told to do by the captain or the stewardesses, depending if you're flying, what used to be Continental United, when they had the president of the deal giving the presentations instead of these poor individuals who collect your used containers of Bloody Mary mix and stuff like that, telling you, in case we hit the water at 450 miles per hour and you somehow are not in like 700 pieces, be sure and use the shit that's under your seat to save your life and float so the sharks will be able to find you easily. All right, let's get back to the 4th of July. God, I just dropped a thong. Seriously. All right, I know what you people are thinking. I know what you're thinking. This is just one of those rants where Dodger might be potentially. Do you suspect that I'm intoxicated? I'm pretty sure I'm at least 100% not. Haven't had any alcoholic beverages. Haven't, I don't know what I can really say I haven't done. I can't be doing that kind of stuff because I got driving stuff to do. I got to earn a living here. It's tough on the streets. Yes, I'm on the streets. I've been on the streets for, a couple months again. On the streets, people. So when Zelf on the Shelf gets these Mike Norton sympathy things saying, Tanner doesn't even have a laptop that's really functional. He has to struggle to edit his videos. I commented recently on one of his posts on maybe apostates at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on Facebook about that, going, I love Zelf on the Shelf's super funny Mormon enforcement videos and that sort of thing. But let them start complaining after they've done a couple hundred videos on an 8 meg Android and editing pictures in, fade out, that kind of thing on a lot of them, when I used to have no life at all instead of this vagabonding I'm doing, and could spend 18 to 20 hours a day, which is what I did on these videos. And then the system crashes and you have to not commit suicide, even though you're super freaking frustrated with all the work you've put into a video where you faded in maybe 50 or 100 pictures or, screenshots of various applicable information. All right, guess what? I'm just going to make this into some kind of a podcast or some shit like that. I've got another page we can open to. Let's get to the 4th of July shit, okay? Oh, sorry, Mom, I used the S-bomb. My mom called me one day and said, David, I wish you wouldn't use that horrible language. I listened to some of your videos and I was very upset and distressed. I don't want to distress Mom. Yeah, that's what happens your mom watches your videos and you drop, I hope she hasn't heard an F-bomb. I really hope she hasn't. I really try to make these Mormon doable. So anyway, you're supposed to have like the first 15 seconds really get into what you're supposed to be talking about here. Oh, Mr. Atheist. God. All right. Good thing I don't believe in Jesus because, I really do get annoyed at the fact that dude started like 6 weeks after me and he's got like 200,000 subscribers. I mean, Jimmy Snow does good videos. He's a smart guy, and he's got, some good equipment at this point. And, he does a good job, and he's all over all these other social medias. He knows the social media shit, like, Instagram and all that stuff. I don't know any of that stuff. But Zoff on the Shelf does that shit, and they don't have nearly as many subscribers, I think, as Jimmy Snow does. And, I don't know. Jimmy, is somebody out there with power like you, so they're not shadow banning you? Okay, I'm back. Little technical difficulties there. So, 4th of July, celebrating our liberty. I think about videos all the time, but I just don't really seem to have the time to do all the videos that I think about, and I really have to keep editing to a minimum these days. So, it's a couple of days late. And I had some thoughts. I was thinking about the mental programming that goes on the 4th of July, as it does on lots of holidays. Well, are there holidays that were not being programmed? I mean, because that's really the purpose of holidays, is for the sheeple to be programmed to believe that they are free, that it's our nation. Let's take back our nation, Donald J. Trump. Hey, it never was your nation. You're on a plantation. A nation is a plantation, and you are an asset, and everything is what it isn't. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about just a little bit here, the programming that goes on. I was at some campgrounds. I watched these morons parading, having their children parade with these American flags and celebrating their freedom. That's by design. And I get frustrated with how freaking stupid people are, but I guess that's just part of life, living with stupid people. And programming stupid people is something that works really well if you understand the technologies, these Tavistokian technologies that are used on us, not just on the television, not just in the LDS church, not just in the Watchtower of Scientology, but constantly everything is designed to give us a certain worldview, and especially, as we can notice, in the United States of America, where we are told that we are a free people, that we have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And within Mormonism and Christianity, we are told that we have God-inspired men from the God of Israel who drafted the Constitution so that we could have this representation, equal representation, that sort of thing. All men are created equal. That's what it says in the Declaration of Independence, written by a slave owner who, I don't know where, I don't quite know how Thomas Jefferson wrote that, other than either Negro men are not men, or maybe he just forgot. Somebody edited out the thing that said white men. And I'm not one of these people that's all about white privilege propaganda bullshit, but I'm more about the fact that all of us are being deceived into thinking that we have all of this liberty and that we live in the best nation on the earth, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, just the fact that it says under God, meaning the God of Israel, meaning the Christian God, for the most part, what does that tell you? We talk about separation of church and state. That's something that's been programmed into us to believe that we actually have. But the churches and the religions are actually created by the owners of the state, who are also the owners of the churches through corporate shareholding. Those who create the Word of God by choosing and by selecting the board of directors, by directing the boards of directors of these 501c3 corporations, by creating policy guidelines so that we are told at church, so that we are told on the television set consistently certain things, even though we do have the Hegelian dialectic situation created for us so that we can find ways to fight with each other and be busy about bullshit like being a Republican versus a Democrat and squabbling on Facebook like all these ex-Mormons do that think that they've either found Jesus or realized their atheistic freedom and that they should go follow Bernie Sanders, which sounds better from the presentation he makes publicly than Hillary Clinton as far as people being corrupt. But let's forget this democratic socialist Jew went to go visit the Pope at the Vatican during the election campaigns. Why would a Jew go bow to the Pope? Why would the Mormon prophets go bow to the Pope and kiss his frickin' ring? What position do the Jesuits actually hold in relation to the Freemasons, who seem to be at the heads of many of our religious organizations or evangelical televangelism businesses? I've talked about that elsewhere. What I just wanted to bring out with this, without belaboring it too much and getting into too much detail, is that all the world is a stage. That's actually true. We're told a lot of truth through these sources that actually are mind-washing us into believing something that is completely different from the way things actually are. And if you see it and you notice how the pieces fit together in many ways, then they've programmed everyone to say,
"Oh, you must be a paranoid schizophrenic. I think you'll need a little Seroquel, Wellbutrin, Remron, and if you get out of hand, some Ativan, and maybe some Thorazane."
Because we can't have anyone noticing that things are tied together in a network, and that the LDS Church and that the Watchtower and Scientology and Seventh-day Adventism and Christian evangelism actually are involved in a network, and that network is involved with the pedophilia network, because through these front organizations wherein they bring in money and get people to volunteer to be mind-washed in churches, they also bring in their victims for satanic ritual abuse to feed the Luciferians at the top of these organizations. That are all privately owned through stock investment, and who teach us and program us with what our masters who own these plantations called cities, states, counties, pension funds, countries, agencies, the alphabet companies, the prison system, the police, the armies, Blackwater, you name it, the CIA, they're all privately owned corporations. The Vatican, the LDS Church, California, San Diego, Florida, Sarasota, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, New York. These are all privately owned plantations, cross-invested in each other, which isn't conspiracy theory, it's fact. that you can read in their comprehensive annual financial reports, which they're required to file, some of which I have read at least portions of. And the best video I know of is one that I borrowed from in at least one of my presentations, so that you didn't have to listen to the full 3 hours and 13 minutes of it, along with stuff having to do with the Mormon portion of that. That video, 313. Yeah, 3 hours and 13 minutes, 313, March 13th. Yeah, important day. Friday the 13th for me, but we'll not dwell on that moment right now. 3 hours and 13 minutes. And the video I'm talking about is called Corporation Nation. That's where you go from conspiracy theory to conspiracy fact. It's not just a conspiracy. The term conspiracy theory is mind control itself. When you begin to understand how these things work, how programming is achieved, then things do open up and you can see it all around you. You can watch your LDS leaders using neuro-linguistic programming techniques, hypnotic language, 180 turnarounds, all sorts of things on the stage there in front of you. And that's what I did. And I remember looking at that. I remember walking in also to a church service, and primary children were singing the hypnotic trance-inducing programming words repetitiously done in a manner that brings you into the alpha wave state of the brain, so that you are more easily programmed. Follow the prophet, follow the prophet, follow the prophet. He knows the way. Oh God, that's why I'm not a rock star. Not that that's rock, but okay. Hate always being like a quarter note off. Yeah. And I thought, why does Jesus have to use mind control in church? Why does he use mind control techniques? Why does Gordon B. Hinckley use high-level sales techniques to get us to believe that the Iraqi people were somehow like the Gadianton robbers, who are basically representing the Illuminati and high-level Freemasonry as the secret combination in the Book of Mormon? Why are we supposed to believe that they are like them and the American people were like the Nephites, so it's okay to bomb the shit out of these people and just murder, hundreds of thousands of people in the name of the Christian God, in the name of democracy, which supposedly is not what we had ever, but our leaders like to say that we live in democracy because that makes you feel like you're a part of things. Hey, yeah, you can vote on all kinds of shit. But don't think that these people are here to represent you, just like the police that are nearby there. It says to protect and serve. They are there to protect and serve, but not to protect and serve you. They are there to protect and serve the corporation that they are employed to protect and serve. In this case, the city of San Diego. That's who they are employed to protect and serve. All of these corporate officers have their fiduciary responsibility to the investors, the shareholders of the corporations that they are working for. And when you begin to understand that everything is commerce, and the concepts that you have been taught that this God of Israel established the nation that you live in, and most of the people that are listening to me are Americans in the United States of America. They could be Americans in South America. They could be part of the United States of Mexico. But America is kind of like Mormonism. When you say America, that doesn't apply to anybody else. It just means the United States of America, just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints before before Russell Nelson had the revelation that it's a victory for Satan to call you to say you're a Mormon, or Mormonism just means the Brighamite branch of the church, or the Brighamite branch of Mormonism, of the religion. Whether you've got maybe 150 or so branches of Mormonism, they own the name, and so there are no Mormon polygamists, because the only real Mormons are the ones that belong to the Brighamite branch. No one else friggin' counts, right? That's kind of the same type of view you have as an American, that you live in the greatest nation on earth. Why? Because God made it that way, and especially if you're a Mormon, because he did that so that the gospel could be restored, that we'd have freedom of religion, which is so valued. Except when God has, a theocracy, according to these stories in the Old Testament, or let's say in this state, the state of Utah, for instance, with Brigham Young basically as the king, prophet, priest, and king, then you don't have religious freedom. You have a despot, whether it's Moses representing Yahweh or Brigham Young representing Jesus Christ. You don't have religious freedom. So what we've got here is we've been bullshitted about a lot of things. So here we have Semiramis, Diana, Isis, whoever you want to call her, this gift by the French Freemasons who worship Lucifer according to their own writings and dogma, giving this gift to Luciferian Freemasons who were the framers of the United States plantation governance mechanism, and called the Constitution, and so forth. Yeah, that's what we have here in the Bay, and like we hear in the song Stairway to Heaven, sometimes words have two meanings. Many terms have multiple meanings, and so the exoteric things we are taught in the churches and in the writings that we have, the things that are called scriptures, are intended for the masses that are to be governed by those who own the religions and own the governments, who take attention off themselves by forming corporations or republics. A republic is synonymous with a corporation, which takes the heat off of them. And then they set it up and make it look like you are responsible for, you get who you voted for. You got Donald Trump, you got Obama, you got George Bush, you got Bill Clinton. It's your goddamn fault. Oh, sorry, Mormons. It's your fault. You elected this son of a bitch. You got what you deserved. And if you didn't vote, you got what you deserved too for not. Yeah, well, so you switch back and forth. You go, God, the Republicans, fucked it all up. Oh, the Democrats, they screwed everything up. We'll vote for Republican for the next 8 years. And the heat isn't on the monarch. The heat isn't on the owners of the republic. Because it's your fault, just like it is in any cult. When you're taught that it's always your fault. That's what you're taught in Mormonism. If you don't believe, if you don't have a testimony, if you can't continue to believe that you're led by a true prophet of the Israelite God, well, it's because you're just not living righteously enough, because we don't depend on any set of facts, says Dallin Oaks, for a testimony. But the Lord gives you a testimony to those who gives testimonies to those who are worthy of them. So it's your fault if you are unable to believe bullshit that doesn't make any sense. And that's the way it is in cult after cult, with these Messiah complex structures where you have leaders that are intercessories between you and the deity that they claim to represent. They speak with and for God, and you have the privilege of praying to have the testimony that they revealed the truth. And if you don't get their answer that they say is right, it's because you've been committing some sort of sin. That's the way that this stuff works. So, I just want to read the words of a poem that I had come to me on Halloween 2017, where we have images like this. And so let's go there right now, because that tells us a lot about America. This video was called Mormonism's Babylonian Mystery School Roots and America's Manifest Destiny as the New Atlantis. Those words may be something that are familiar to you, or they may not, depending on your knowledge base. Whether you now have the esoteric knowledge of the founding of the United States of America, or you're just caught up in the exoteric BS that you're fed and programmed. Okay, well, what did I say here? Oh, this came to me. I was awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning, right before the mass murder in New York, and these words just flowed to me. So I say in here, considering the occult roots of America, is her manifest destiny the New Atlantis? Now the poem. Her unhallowed hand. Oh, this is, so you're supposed to be looking up here at this. Statue of Liberty, face, Melania, Moroni, Jesus, yeah, and Apollo. Okay. Because we're all really here serving the sovereign, which is the Roman Empire. Whose Jesuit ministers for the black nobility families of Europe are grateful that you're out celebrating your freedom, because it's easiest to enslave people than to believe that they're free. Her unhallowed hand, speaking of the Statue of Liberty, her unhallowed hand holding Lucifer's light, she stands in the bay as the queen of the night, a mother of gods from ages of old. In Columbia's hand the times are foretold. In liberty's name by Freemasons given, desolation she brings to all nations under heaven. She's Diana to some and Isis to others, a torch in her hand and Lilith her mother. As Venus she rises in dawn's early light, or Atlantis she watches, her goal is in sight. An order of ages long lost in the past, its dawn she now heralds in triumph at last. You might want to read that and think about what the message is in there. Yeah, so that came to me in about a 2-minute time period, maybe 3, I'm not sure. I didn't just automatic write it or something, but I just had it start to flow to me. I thought a little bit as I looked at the Statue of Liberty, and the words just came to me. So, yes, I know what you Christians are thinking. He was channeling it from Lucifer. And so I'm going to do a different video about the wonderful meal I had in Lucifer's kitchen. Yes, people, Lucifer sure can prepare great vegan pizza. I'm going to tell you that. I had Lucifer's pizza, vegan pizza, alive, fresh, no cooking of the ingredients that needed to have life in them. And it was fantastic. Right here on the left coast, in the center of Illuminativille for the West Coast, West Hollywood. Anyway, I know you're anticipating that and some other videos I'm about to do, like Dodgers thoughts on Illuminati hottie Jacqueline Glenn. And what other ones was I about to do? I have all these thoughts come to me, and I want to talk about things. And some of these videos, like I said, I just don't have time to do a bunch of editing anymore because I'm on the streets, not just trying to survive, but trying to gain some traction. I'm halfway through the summer where kids are off of school. I'm desperately trying to get some financial traction so I can actually succeed in being able to hopefully have a chance at spending some time with my kids that basically disappeared 11, 12, 13 and I didn't see for 5 years. I still haven't seen my son. I saw my daughter for a few minutes when I went to Missouri, and then from there I went elsewhere. But it was costing me $100 a day for the car, and it was costing me hotel, and I didn't have the holding power or the situation at that time. I'm trying to get to where I can reunite at least with my children there. It's really a tough situation. It's agonizing every day for the losses of loved ones that I deal with on an emotional basis, and I'm about to do some kind of GoFundMe stuff, and I'll ask for that first $666 to help fund what I'm trying to do, which is actually more than what I've already done with creating probably the largest amount of information on YouTube in the world regarding Mormonism. I think I actually have more actual material regarding, the doctrines, the history, the mind control of the LDS Church than anybody else in the world. I know John DeLynne's got more minutes on YouTube, but he's doing the stories, and I'm going subject by subject on this stuff, trying to make it easier for people to just click and listen while you're doing some other menial task, possibly. So you don't have to take a break and read. You can just plug this shit in and listen. And if you can watch, there are ones where I fade in a lot of messages visually. Some of them are layered messages that I use. Some of that's for SEO. Some of it's for various other reasons, to give you a way to easily unlock the knowledge of how you're being programmed by this Jesuit Freemason controlled church and religion, getting you to program your children and others into beliefs that benefit those who own the churches, that own the plantations that you live in, and hurt people, hurt children, hurt women, hurt men, destroy families, basically do the opposite of what the Mormon Church promotes, just like the way they do everything is promote the opposite of what they're actually doing, whether it's on the media from a News Corp controlled station. Fox News would be a News Corp controlled station, or something controlled by Turner Broadcasting, or something by NBC Universal, Telemundo. All of these are basically, all this shit's privately owned, just like the churches. And through block voting and corporate governance, boards of directors come to the same politically correct agendas. That's why you see the same types of social themes in commercial after commercial on television. It's not an accident. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on that. I just wanted to have a little rant. Get something out there for this post 4th of July time. Give something to my people here that are, looking for some content and something to open the eyes of your loved ones, some ammunition. Sometimes it's just that one thing that opens someone's eyes and they just go, wait a minute. I just figured out that the United States of America actually isn't what I've been trained to believe it is. It's more or less, a colony with sub-colonies, a plantation with sub-plantations, and essentially a British colony still, or a crown corporation company, because the Crown Corporation and the district, the financial district inside of London is just like the District of Columbia and just like Vatican City are independent nation states. The world isn't what you've been trained to believe that it is. It isn't at all what you've been trained to believe that it is. And once you realize that you've been lied to, that the history you've got in school and on the news and in your churches is all bullshit, and that this manifest destiny doctrine that's taught to us in the United States and taught in their own version in other countries where God made your country special, it's bullshit, and it's taught heavily in the Book of Mormon. And when I realized that it's not our country, we're an asset. It's not a free country. Countries aren't what you think that they are. It's like loyalty. Be true to your school. Be true to your plantation. You're not an owner. You're called a member in the church. That makes you feel, oh, I'm special. I'm a member. I'm a card-carrying member. I've got my temple recommend because I obey the prophet. You're being. It's such carrot and stick bullshit. You're being told, oh, you're so righteous because you can believe this horse shit. The crazier the shit is, the greater your faith must be. Yeah, the crazier the shit is, the greater your faith must be. So you must be, the greater your virtue must be. Because that's what faith is. It's a mind control technique. Sorry, people. That's just the way that it really actually is. And these SOBs like Holland up here, who are actors and are NLP experts, are bullshitting you. When you see this son of a bitch cry, when he tears up telling you that Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith died because they wouldn't deny the Book of Mormon, and you know that he knows that even in LDS official history is nowhere represented to be the case. It's complete bullshit, and yet he tears up about that when he knows that Joseph Smith was incarcerated on charges of inciting a riot and adultery, those kinds of things, And yet he tells us that they died because they wouldn't deny their testimony in the Book of Mormon, which is complete horseshit. And he tears up. What does that tell you? That tells you he's an actor. That's what it tells you. He's using NLP. And people buy into this shit. And when you realize that's the case, then it's a game changer. You got to realize who these boys really are. All right. I'm out. But, just like Arnold, I'll be back. Yeah, there you go. Another guy married into an Illuminati power broker family. Not that his daddy wasn't, a Nazi or anything, but yeah. Dig deeper, people. Dig deeper. But when you dig into your pockets, don't give it to the LDS Church. Please share these videos because I'm obviously shadow banned pretty freaking heavily. And these are tools, just like the Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub, to make it easier to see the fact that you've been lied to and that you're serving men who are wolves in sheep's clothing in the LDS Church and in America, where you promote murder all over the globe as you support the military efforts that you're being told are there to give you freedom. You didn't gain freedom by murdering people in Baghdad. Wake up. Dodger out.